Or the honourable member for Fairfax.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And indeed, this year the Australian people do have a big decision to make, and it is one of those years where they face a fork in the road. On one hand, they have the opportunity to stay with a strong government that's delivering a strong economy, and the jobs and the infrastructure and the guarantee of services that come with that strong government. Or they can choose Labor. They can choose a government that has proven to have a problem with unrestrained spending, with excessive waste and high taxes that condemn Australians to revisit the reckless mistakes of the past. Because, Deputy Speaker, Labor doesn't know how to manage money. Labor has never known how to manage money, and it's the Australian people who cop the brunt of it. Now, we already know about Labor's $200 billion odd of additional taxes that they're going to rip out of the pocket of everyday Australians. We know about Labor's housing tax that will put the boot into an already weak property market, driving asset values down and rents up. We also know that a one-pronged attack against the property market isn't enough for Labor, which is why they're doubling down, and not just that asset class but also others are going to be hit with a 50% increase in capital gains tax from Labor. And then, of course, there's Labor's retiree tax, a callously targeted tax impacting around 900,000 Australians, 15,000 alone in my region of the Sunshine Coast, who are set to lose up to 30% of their incomes. This is Labor's plan, Deputy Speaker. And then, of course, more recently, true to form, before the release of the final report from the Hayne Royal Commission, Labor's Shadow Minister for Financial Services announced that Labor will blindly implement every single recommendation. Now, this is somewhat typical, Deputy Speaker. They didn't know what the recommendations were, but they were prepared to sign up and implement them all in full. It's reminiscent of the Leader of the Opposition's comment years ago about the then Prime Minister Julia Gillard's words when he said something along the lines of, "I don't know what she said, but I agree with what it is that she said." This is Labor. This is the Leader of the Opposition. This is the person who wants to run the country. This is the person who believes that he and his team know how to run the economy, Deputy Speaker. And of course, among those recommendations that came from the Commission were proposals that would impact the mortgage broking industry. Now, there's no doubt that putting in place a best interest test is a good idea and something I certainly support. I also support that action is needed on trailing commissions, Deputy Speaker, so long as the industry has sufficient time to adjust and transition, and I believe the date mooted to be the 1st of July 2020 should give the industry the time it needs. However, I do have concern around the idea of banning, abolishing upfront fees, upfront commissions. By doing that, plus the trails, mortgage broking would be over. Mortgage broking as a sector would be dead. Now, there are 125 mortgage brokers in my electorate of Fairfax, Deputy Speaker, and I met many of them last week, actually. They are as baffled as I am why the Labor Party accepts such a proposal holus bolus and is prepared to see that industry absolutely destroyed. And they signed up to that without even reading it. This is the incompetence of the Labor Party. Well, we cannot stand for that, and I, for one, will be standing up for the 125 mortgage brokers in my electorate of Fairfax whose industry should not be outright destroyed by the blindness of the Labor Party. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
I thank the honourable member for Fairfax.